Nothing says retro to the future on a more corporate, serious level than Jaguar themselves revealing this in the last couple of days, which is called the E-Type Zero. So it's a 1968 E-Type Jag Roadster, restored, but under there's no straight six 3.8 litre engine, which there was. There is a lithium-ion battery pack and an electric motor and a car that does 0 to 62 in 5.5 seconds with 170 mile real-world range, which is quite impressive, right? This is Mike Goodbun from Jag. Hi, Mike.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Very well, thank you, Johnny.
This is exciting because obviously for me personally, this is like right up my street,
Absolutely.
right up my alley. Just so people know, this is not a recreation of an old Jag. This is an old Jag.
So this is a 1968 Series 1.5 E-Type.
Yep.
Originally had the XK 6-cylinder engine under the bonnet.
Yep.
But it's our development car. It's a prototype of what we could do if we were to electrify an E-Type.
So this is strictly speaking not on sale.
Not yet, but certainly we'd like to.
Yeah.
And the purpose of bringing it here to TechFest is to gauge reaction from the public and potential clients for the car.
I mean, for me, this is awesome news because this is like the sort of ideas that I've had for about 6 years. But to see an actual, an OEM producing something like this and taking the idea of a classic, but I guess to reaching out to a type of person that is not a purist, that likes the look of a classic car, but not necessarily massively interested in what goes on under the bonnet.
Yeah.
And wants it to be 21st century and kind of city friendly and easy.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole purpose of this is to future-proof classic cars and starting with classic Jaguars.
Yeah.
So if there is a world where petrol is hard to come by, we really want people to be able to enjoy the joys of classic motoring, the wind in your hair, the long view down the bonnet,
yeah.
That sensation that made the E-Type such a legend since the 60s. And for that to continue. So it is really about future-proofing classic cars.
Yeah. Well, Enzo Ferrari did admit that the E-Type Jag, when it came out in 1961, was the most attractive car ever built, right? And the great thing about this particular version is externally there's no change, I don't think.
So the only thing that you'll be able to spot, there are no exhaust pipes at the rear.
Oh, and they're quite prominent on E-Type.
Quite prominent on E-Type. If you follow it, you'd notice.
So you could put dummy pipes on it if you wanted.
You could. We're not fans of that.
No.
But yeah, you could. And if you look very closely at the headlamps, they're LED headlamps as well, which is all part of the electrification process.
I'm going to have a look because I hadn't clocked that. Oh yeah.
So low power.
Low power,
but
better
illumination.
Better performance lights.
Yeah.
And then at the back here, where you used to put super unleaded or
put your 4-star in.
5-star, if you could get it back in the day. That's not a band. It was, but it isn't. And then in here you've got obviously a plug-in point, which is great. Can we sit in it?
Yeah, let's do.
I really want to. Oh, actually, let's have a look under the bonnet first.
Yep.
I'm trying to remember.
Got a catch each side.
The thing about E-Types is they're so dainty.
That's it. So twist and pull.
You're going to like this. So the whole front of the car on the E-Type is the bonnet is the whole front. The wings and everything are all built into one big clamshell.
So the batteries sit where you'd normally find the XK motor.
Yeah. Now am I right in thinking I read that the battery pack, all the gubbins, it sits on the original engine mounts.
Yep.
So the car has not been butchered in terms of its purity.
Absolutely, 100% right, Johnny. The real key thing with this was that it's completely reversible.
Yep.
It doesn't damage any of the fabric, any of the original metalwork of the vehicle. So if someone wanted to return it back to its original XK engine state in the future, that's entirely possible.
So at the moment we're back to the future. We could go back to the past. What's this, 220 kilowatts?
220 kilowatt motor, 40 kilowatt hour battery, which drives through a single speed transmission through to a prop shaft to the rear diff, just like you would in a normal E-Type.
So the diff at the back is E-Type?
It's just completely E-Type standard,
The prop
brakes
shaft.
standard, suspension standard.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's actually lighter than the original E-Type.
46 kilos lighter, yeah.
So nearly 50 kilos lighter, which is actually a lot, isn't it? That's like several children.
That's right.
Or a very light adult. So this is 5.5 seconds to 62.
Yep.
The original car was what, 6.5?
Just under 7, depending on who was road testing it.
Right, okay. So it is quicker.
Yep, lighter.
Is it faster, as in, is there a top speed figure you guys
Top
have quoted?
speed, this particular example, because it's just a development car, we've limited ourselves voluntarily to 100, but it will go on to 150 miles an hour.
So you've been quite conservative, because obviously back in the day the car was 150 miles an hour, that was its headline top speed figure, wasn't it?
Right.
It's a very controversial thing that you've done, but I really appreciate it, because on the one hand I totally get why the purists would say just leave it as it was. But also I see younger people, I see millennial people like knowing what an E-Type is and liking classic cars, but not really wanting the purity of an old engine.
Yeah, the reaction has been phenomenal already to this car, and anyone who's got any concerns that it's affecting an original E-Type, once we explain that it's completely reversible, it doesn't damage anything, you can put it exactly back to how it left the factory in '68, makes a big difference, and they start to understand what it is that we're doing, and a respect for history that we absolutely have.
Well, that's the thing, because it's not just an old body plonked on a modern chassis, is it? It still is an old car.
Yeah.
Apart from it's now drive-by-wire.
That's it.
So we're inside and it feels positively 1960s. I was perched on the seat. Everything feels very thin and beautiful, and I can touch the windscreen, and you've got a dainty little woodroom steering wheel. But in this particular version, you've got a carbon fibre re-sculpted dash, which presumably is touch sensitive or something like that. And of course, you haven't got an old manual four-speed gear knob. No,
that's right. Only a single-speed drive line, so only forwards or backwards. And then, yes, as you say, touchscreen
on the throttle.
Yeah, touchscreen integrated for all the major controls, all the displays for range and the battery condition and things like that.
If you were be able to order this car, you don't have to keep it all pure.
So again, as it's a concept, it's something we looked at, because there are some components we needed to change anyway. We looked at, maybe if we sort of revitalise the interior in a slightly retro modern way, what could that look like? And the Jaguar design team led by Ian Callum were involved in that process absolutely centrally. So we've taken a lot of E-Type cues to do something that's sympathetic to the car, but still absolutely bang up to date. What
department of Jaguar Land Rover was this made in? So not on a production line, I know.
And not a traditional production line, no, but Jaguar Land Rover Classic at Ryton on Dunsmore near Coventry, our Classic Works operation. So built this car and engineered in conjunction with Rimac in Croatia for some of the electrical expertise. So we supplied them a brief and have worked with them to develop this driveline in a way that meets our intentions for the reversibility of the conversion, gives the performance that we need it to give, and it kind of builds sort of the best of both, really, with our experience with the classic cars, their experience with the electrification technology.
Yeah. Now, the last couple of days when this was released, I tweeted pictures and walked around it and put a little video up and things, and it got a lot of attention. And I'm sure that everyone else who's done it has got the same amount of attention. You're probably completely worn out from talking to people about it. What has the general consensus been? Have you had people actually throwing money at you saying, make it because I want to buy it?
We've been very, very pleased with the response so far, and there are people that are already indicating a very serious interest in seeing the next version of this, and very keen for us to put it into production, absolutely.
So have you had like that saga of old-fashioned motor shows where you could physically buy a car off a turntable? Have you had people come up to you and say, I actually want this car?
We could have sold this very car more than once already, absolutely, yeah.
I think this is possibly the coolest car we've ever had on fully charged, especially one that we've never even driven. We don't even know what it's like to drive. Apart from the flux capacitor, maybe, in an unbiased world, I would say that's probably the coolest car I've ever been on fully charged. But this is a close second. Probably first, actually. This is way more attractive than my car. I'm really, really excited by it, and I think nothing says that you're more serious when an OEM, when Jaguar themselves say, do you know what we're going to do? We're going to do a retro electric car. I really hope that we can get to drive this in the future, and I hope that the interest that you guys have had will mean that you guys can build it. Because clearly, the way you've constructed this car shows that it's totally possible.
Absolutely, but yeah, as you've seen from this event, electrification absolutely has a fundamental role in the future for Jaguar Land Rover.
Yeah.
And we're just applying that from Jaguar Classic to our past as well.
Well, did I read in your press release that what you've essentially said is because you've adapted the engine mounts and the gearbox mounts from the original straight six, you could put this electric drivetrain in any Jag that was fitted with that engine?
Yep.
Which is a lot of Jags, like a huge amount, like 30 years of Jags.
Huge chunk of Jaguar history was powered by the XK
so
straight
like
six.
Mark II,
Yep.
E-Type,
Yep.
S-Type,
S-Type, yep.
S-Type,
All the above, XJS.
XJS, XJC,
Nice.
Mark 10, which for me, I'd love a Mark 10. I think this would be great in a Mark 10. Big, huge, wide brute of a car, but nice and silent.
Yeah.
Yeah, what else? Well, look, XJs from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s.
XKs as well, potentially.
XKs.
120, 140,
Yeah.
150.
Replica D-Type.
Replica D-Type, C-Type,
C-Type.
XKSS.
Oh, wow.
Coolest Steve McQueen.
Oh my goodness, XKSS.
Yeah.
Oh, the creative juices are flowing. Yeah, that would be cool. Make a savagely quick XKSS.
Absolutely.